up by Poole.
We rave about Steph Curry's shot-making ability, but how to...
Welcome back to Dunk Court, where we break down the moments that redefine basketball history. I'm your host, and today we're diving into the most seismic shift in NBA history. Not the introduction of the three-point line, not the shot clock, but the Stephen Curry revolution that fundamentally rewired how basketball is played at every level. Before we jump in, smash that like button if you remember when shooting from 30 feet was considered bad basketball. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand why that thinking became extinct. And drop a comment with the most ridiculous Curry shot you've ever seen. I guarantee we'll all be arguing about it. The shot that broke basketball. Picture this. February 27th, 2016. The Warriors are facing the Thunder in Oklahoma City in what many consider the game of the year. With 6:23 left in the third quarter, Steph Curry brings the ball up court. He's already torching the Thunder, but what happens next defies everything basketball has ever taught us about shot selection. Curry crosses half court, takes two dribbles, and with Andre Robertson defending him, pulls up from 32 feet. Logo range. The ball arcs through the air as 20,000 fans rise to their feet. Swish. The Thunder players literally stop and stare in disbelief. Kevin Durant turns to his teammates with a look that says, "What do we even do with that?" This wasn't just another highlight reel moment. This was the shot that announced to the basketball world that everything they thought they knew about the game was obsolete. Before the revolution. To understand the magnitude of Curry's impact, we need to time travel back to 2009. The NBA was all about mid-range shots and post-ups, with teams averaging just 18.1 three-point attempts per game. That's fewer threes in an entire game than some players attempt today. The prevailing wisdom was ironclad. Work for good shots within established parameters. Save the three-pointer for specialists in the corners. Into this world walks Stephen Curry, a 6'3" guard from Davidson who weighed 185 pounds soaking wet. Drafted 7th overall by the Warriors in 2009, scouts praised his shooting but questioned everything else. He was supposed to be a nice backup point guard, maybe a sixth man if he was lucky. The quiet evolution. Curry's first few seasons were solid but unremarkable. In 2012-13, he made 272 three-pointers while shooting 45.3% from deep. Great numbers, but nothing that suggested he was about to revolutionize basketball. What nobody realized was that while other players were perfecting their mid-range games, Curry was in the gym expanding his range to distances that didn't exist in NBA playbooks. The transformation accelerated under coach Mark Jackson, who recognized that Curry's range wasn't just a novelty, but a strategic weapon. Then came Steve Kerr in 2014, and everything changed. Kerr understood the mathematics. If Curry could make shots from 28 feet at 40% accuracy, those weren't just good shots. They were game-breaking shots. The mathematical breakthrough. Here's where the math gets beautiful. A 35% three-point shooter from deep generates the same points per possession as a 52.5% two-point shooter. But Curry wasn't shooting 35% from extended range, he was shooting over 40%. Kerr's philosophy was revolutionary in its simplicity. Remove all restrictions on Curry's shot selection. If Curry felt confident, it was a good shot, period. In his first season under Kerr, Curry made 286 three-pointers while shooting 44.3% from deep. The Warriors won 67 games and their first championship. But the real revolution wasn't in the numbers. It was in how defenses had to respond. For the first time in NBA history, teams were guarding a point guard at half court, not because of his speed, but because of his range. Think about that for a second. Curry had weaponized space itself, turning the entire court into a potential scoring threat. The record-breaking season. The 2015-16 season was when basketball officially broke. Curry made 402 three-pointers, shattering his own record by 116 makes. He shot 45.4% from three on 11.2 attempts per game, numbers that seem to violate the laws of physics. The Warriors won 73 games, and Curry became the first unanimous MVP in NBA history. What made that season revolutionary wasn't just the volume or accuracy. It was how Curry redefined shot selection itself. Traditional basketball wisdom crumbled under the weight of his success. What's the most ridiculous Curry shot you remember from that season? Drop it in the comments because that 2016 season gave us about 50 candidates. The resistance and why it mattered. Not everyone embraced the transformation. Charles Barkley famously declared that jump shooting teams can't win championships. Critics complained about the loss of fundamental basketball and physicality, but their concerns weren't entirely unfounded. The mid-range game had been basketball's heartbeat for decades. Players like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Tim Duncan built legendary careers on fadeaway jumpers and post moves that required patience, footwork, and finesse. There was artistry in the methodical build-up, the chess match between offense and defense in the paint. Traditional coaches valued the physical nature of interior play. The battles for position, the contact, the grinding half-court sets that tested mental toughness. They feared that Curry's revolution would turn basketball into a carnival of long-range shots, eliminating the tactical depth that made the game beautiful. But here's why the math ultimately won. Barkley's claim ignored the mathematical reality. Curry's threes were worth 50% more than twos, and his 40% plus accuracy made them unstoppable. The Warriors proved this by winning 3 championships in 4 years, validating every mathematical model about three-point efficiency. The copycat league transforms. The NBA has always been a copycat league, but the response to Curry's success was unprecedented. By 2016-17, teams were averaging 27.0 point attempts per game. By 2020, that number hit 34.1. This past season, the Boston Celtics attempted 48.2 three-pointers per game, more than twice what entire teams were shooting when Curry entered the league. But this wasn't just a three-point revolution, it was a total rewrite of the basketball playbook. The transformation went beyond players to coaches and entire organizations. Mike D'Antoni had already pioneered pace and space with the Phoenix Suns, but Curry's success validated his vision on a championship level. D'Antoni later coached James Harden to historic three-point volumes in Houston, attempting to out-Curry Curry himself. Eric Spoelstra in Miami began surrounding his stars with 5-out spacing, completely abandoning traditional center positions. The Heat became a laboratory for positionless basketball, with players like Bam Adebayo functioning as point centers. Brad Stevens in Boston built an entire system around three-point math, eventually leading to the Celtics' record-breaking 48.2 attempts per game. Stevens understood that even average three-point shooters became valuable if they could space the floor properly. Players like Damian Lillard pushed their range to match Curry's distances, turning Portland into Rip City from logo range. Young stars like Trae Young and Luka Doncic entered the league with logo range as standard equipment. The skill that made Curry special became the price of admission to the modern NBA. The defensive evolution. Defenses had to evolve or perish. Traditional coverage became obsolete. Teams developed new schemes like trapping at half-court, switching everything, even employing box-and-one defenses that hadn't been seen since the 1960s. When Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, the choice became impossible. Teams couldn't simultaneously stop Curry from deep and Durant from everywhere else. Nick Nurse's Toronto Raptors famously deployed a box-and-one defense against Curry in the 2019 Finals, a strategy that looked absurd but represented the lengths teams would go to contain his range. The fact that an NBA Finals featured a defense designed around stopping one player from 30 feet perfectly captured how completely Curry had changed the game. Thanks for watching, and remember, the revolution continues with every impossible shot that finds its way through the net. Until next time, keep pushing your range, because in Curry's NBA, there's no such thing as too far.